Hi everyone, I'm the Plant Propagator and welcome to my channel. If you're interested in learning a little bit more about the work that I do, please subscribe to my channel. Today it's a beautiful day in Southwest Florida. It's 75 degrees Fahrenheit, 25 degrees Celsius, and it's just great. And it's great to be here. What I want to talk to you about today is orchids. Whoa, squirrel! And orchid roots. And the idea behind this is that if your orchids are happy, they produce very nice roots. And that means they're happy. If the orchids are happy, then for me, I'm happy. So I want to show you what nice roots look like on orchids. I want to show you a little bit some of the orchids that I have around here and how you can promote this and what it's telling you about the plants. So first of all, I want to just back up a little bit and show you some Flask orchids. I normally don't have them out here, but I do today. I just brought them out to show you. But this is kind of an indicator of the kind of roots that we have that are desirable on orchids, and these are in flasks here. And that was a Cattleya pumila, and this is a Dendrobium that I have. So these are actually left over from an orchid sale that we had this past weekend, and people didn't want them. So I've got a lot of deflasking to do today. What I'm going to do though is pay attention to the roots. I'm going to pull these out and be very careful not to damage the roots. And I plant them typically in moist orchiata bark. I'm going to try something a little bit different today, and I'm going to show it to you. I have this, which is the filter system, or piece of filter paper or filter fabric that I have for my house air conditioning and heating system, and there was a little bit left over when I cut this. So I want to try this. This is some material. I'll try this and I'll compare this to some orchiata bark that I have, but I just wanted to show you that. It's a deviation a little bit from what I normally talk about, but let's get back to the roots. So I want to show you first an encyclia that I've showed you previously that I mounted on a board. And I want to show you what the roots look like as they've grown over the past couple of months. So the encyclia that I wanted to show you is right here. And this is where I do normally keep the encyclias, but I wanted to show you the roots and the root system here and how they've grown. So you can see in here these nice roots that are growing along this board, and they're growing below it and they're growing up it. And this is an indicator that the orchid is doing well, that it likes it. And the roots are, they're not really, they're just attaching. And this is how orchids grow naturally. And you just need to be aware of this, that the orchids grow attached to trees, typically bark and not the inside wood as with this piece of cedar. But they grow and they just use it to attach, and then they take the nutrients from the rainwater and from whatever else happens to fall on them. So this shows you the kind of roots. These are pretty fine roots on this encyclia. I have another orchid back here, and this is a Cattleya. And this is where I keep this Cattleya, and this is just board mounted as well, and you can take a look at the roots. I mounted this maybe around a year ago, but you can see the roots above and below, and they've attached to the board. This used to be held on with a rubber band, but the rubber band is taken off, and this is growing. I'm going to try to get you a little bit closer here, but you can see these roots are they're reaching out and they grab the board. They seek the board. They kind of seek the darkness and they attach to the board, but they're attached pretty tightly. And this is this is how they grow naturally. And this one also seems to be doing well, this Cattleya. I have also behind me is a Dendrobium right here, and this is grown over the side of the pot, and the roots have come out here and have actually attached to the side of the clay plot. I'll show you a little bit closer of what this looks like. I want to take you and show you some of the other plants that I have around. Oh, I got one more right here. Okay, this is a Chambria, and with this Chambria, you can see again how the roots are just growing nicely from, and I just repotted this a couple of weeks ago, but they're just starting to grow, but they're growing really well. And this again is an indicator that they're happy. And again, if there's good roots, means you've got good orchids, happy orchids, and then you've got happy orchid owners, which is me right now. But what I want to show you is some of the other plants that I have mounted on trees and other places throughout my yard. So I'm going to show you some Vandas and some Phalaenopsis. Some of those are doing just so well, it's incredible, but I'll show you some on the Christmas palms right next to me. I'll also show you date palms that are just loaded with different orchids, and how the root systems just completely grow around into the crevices and small holes, small cracks and crevices in the trunk of the date palm, and how just incredible those plants are growing and how nice the roots look. So let's take a look at some of those. Okay, so this is a Vanda Seedling, a pretty new Vanda Seedling that was mounted on this tree not more than 2 weeks ago. And I mounted it here because I have another Vanda Seedling that I mounted on another tree in the yard that I'll show you in a second, that just immediately grabbed on and is doing well, and I thought, okay, let's try it with this one. So this one has done the same thing, and you can see the roots. I should mention it's attached with rubber bands, so these are indoor-outdoor rubber bands that I use for a lot of orchid mounting, and it's got some roots there, and all the roots, if you get them close to the trunk, they just grab. And so that's what this thing is doing, and it seems to be doing pretty well in its current situation. Alright, I've moved location now, and we're looking at some orchids mounted in date palms. And what you can see right here is this Cattleya that's sending out a new pseudobulb. It's doing pretty well. It's got these nice green roots growing here. I should say that the roots, sometimes these things have the nice green tips, and sometimes they have kind of pinkish and purple tips. But here's a really small, I had to find it. Here's a really small Cattleya down here, and you can see the root that's growing out of that Cattleya. Here's another Cattleya right here with a little tiny thing, but it's got a root growing out of it, and it's attaching to the tree nicely. I think that's probably the only root on this little Cattleya seedling, and I grew this guy from seed and mounted it in the tree. If you take a look around at some of the other, here's a Phalaenopsis right here, and you can see some of the roots that are coming out of the Phalaenopsis that have attached to the tree. This tree, there are roots kind of all over the place, and that's a root, I think, from the Cattleya. They tend to mingle. So here's another Cattleya. This might be a Laelia pumila, and it's got that nice root growing out of the top of that. But this has a lot of roots, and it's grown pretty well. But as you move up the tree, you can see all the roots that are all over the place. And Encyclia, where's the Encyclia? right? Okay, where is it? Hard to see. I think it should be right there. Okay, got it. Anyway, we'll take a look at some of the other plants on the other tree. All right. Well, these aren't roots. This is a Dendrobium that's blooming kind of nicely, and if we take a look at that plant, you can see all the nice roots that are growing up on the tree from that. Another Dendrobium right here, and if you take a look at the base of that plant, again, more roots growing all over the place. But what's impressive is when you take a look at this Phalaenopsis, and there is one, I don't know if you can see, there's the one bloom spike right there, but then there's a second bloom spike behind it, and we'll follow it up, and it's about right here is the top of this thing, and this is about a little over 3 feet, about 1 meter long. And this plant is doing nicely. The reason that it's growing like this, and there is also a nice root, you may or may not be able to see it, right behind that leaf there. But the reason that this is growing so well is because of the incredible root system. Most of the roots on the side of this tree are from that Phalaenopsis. I mean, they're pretty much all over the place. I mean, here's interesting. You can see a Phalaenopsis root, and then that's really thick and kind of purplish, and then there's a green root that's probably from the Dendrobium that's right next to it. But you can see the root system that's really grown around about half of the tree, and this tree is pretty large. And so what it does, what this root system allows this plant to do is really be happy. So it's put out bloom spikes. It's putting out a second bloom spike here. And the thing about the first one, like I said, it's about 1 meter long, about 3 feet long, and then it's putting out a second one, and I'm curious to see how big the second one is going to be. The leaves themselves are big, but the root system is what's impressive here because it can support a plant and the flowers like this. I'm really curious to see how many blooms I get off of this plant, because the root system, as you can see from looking at the side of this tree, really is so extensive. So that's all I have today. I just wanted to show you the root systems on some of these plants, and again, happy orchids, happy roots, happy owners. It's all true. So that's all I have for today. Happy propagating.